This podcast was brought to you by Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. They have tools that allow you to record and edit right from your phone or computer. It allows you to distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can even make money without having a minimal listenership. It's basically everything you need and all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And we're off. Hi, I'm Daisy Kane, and welcome to the Awkward Black Nerd Podcast. Let me give you a brief synopsis on who I am, I guess. I'm a wife, a mother, a published author, blogger, amateur photographer, mediocre painter, proud comic book nerd, occasional basket case, or if you're just a stranger in the street, you're probably going to think I'm just a brooding black woman with a permanent resting bitch face. And that's fair. But it's really hard to describe who I really am without using the word awkward, as you can tell from this rambling intro. But I think we're all a little awkward, and that's kind of why I wanted to start this silly podcast. I just wanted to provide an escape, especially since 2020 has been rough on all of us. And we're all adjusting to the new normal, I guess. And I feel like in these strange times, we could all use a little escape, even if it's just something small like this podcast that I'm recording from my couch, basically. Plus, I just wanted to share my narrative with others, maybe just inspire other people to embrace their flaws. Like, I know I'm flawed and complex, but I think we all are. We all are kind of screwed up in our own way. And I figure maybe if I'm transparent with my experiences and just share like things that I'm going through, even if it's just like silly anecdotes or just awkward stories, or just provide, just a little insight. Maybe it can help me on my own personal journey, and maybe it can help somebody else too. Or like I said, just provide an escape, because we could all use just a little like escape from this chaotic world that is literally on fire right now. So like I said, this is just a lighthearted show. I'm going to keep things, very light. I'm going to talk about things like pop culture and maybe just talk about other issues like self-care, mental health. But I won't get too like heavy-handed. I won't talk about like politics or religion, and basically I'm not going to go into things that can be heavily debated. I just want to keep this lighthearted, and there's enough there's other podcasts and other, outlets out there that can do that, and that's just not me. And like I said, if I'm providing escape, I feel like that's like those topics are kind of like the last thing you want to hear about. So overall, to anybody who is listening, just try to be open-minded, totally judgment-free zone. Let your freak flag fly. I'm definitely going to let mine fly. And as you listen more episodes, you're going to just realize how chaotic my brain is, I guess. And just overall, just be kind and just open-minded. And I guess thanks for listening. And I guess I could start briefly going to what I'm going to talk about on the first episode. I'm going to discuss this term called imposter syndrome. I feel like it's something that I could definitely relate to. And I think once I go more into discussing it, you're going to realize it's more common than you realize. You probably just never were able to put a term to this exact feeling that I'm pretty sure we've all gone through. I can give you a brief story as to how I was able to identify it. Anyone that knows me, I guess I could just go into like the brief summary. I'm originally from Virginia Beach. Shout out to the 757. Moved up to upstate New York about 5 or 6 years ago, probably maybe almost 7, but I've been up here for a while. And, I worked briefly in I did a couple of admin jobs, and before I became like a stay-at-home mom for like 4.5 years. And while it was nice, once I was able to put my daughter in some kind of school, she just finished preschool and she's now in kindergarten. But once she started like an actual like school, I said, okay, I got to get out of the house and I decided to return to the workforce, and I went back to school. I got certified as a dental assistant, and shout out to Adirondack Dental Assisting School in Boston Spa. Um, which before you guys are probably like, where the hell is that? Where I'm at in upstate New York, I'm basically closer to the state's capital, which is Albany. Immediately when people think of New York, they think of New York City. I nowhere near New York City. I'm actually like, I want to say maybe 2.5 hours away. So yeah, I'm further north. I'm in the mountains basically. So yeah, so where was I? Something. Oh yeah. So I went to like dental assisting school, graduated in November, and it was an amazing program. It was accelerated though, but even though the instructors were great and like it was just a small class of me and like 12 or 13 other girls. I think it was like literally like 14 girls. Like everybody was amazing. Like we all got along. I still talk to a couple of like the girls I graduated with. And like, even though the program was amazing, just the whole time I was there, even though like I passed almost all my exams, I think I bombed one, but it was one that we all bombed because it was like, I think it was it was one or two of our quizzes before the final one, but it was like tough on everybody. But other than that, like I excelled in like you know, all my quizzes, passed my final exam, final like flying colors, and never got any like harsh critiques from my instructors. But it's like the whole time I was there, I was like riddled with anxiety, wondering, am I doing the right thing? How am I gonna do? How do I know, if being a dental assistant is right for me? It's like I was always riddled with in the back of my mind, am I good enough to do this? Even on a day of graduation, like all I could think of is, holy crap, am I going to be okay once I get hired? And luckily 2 weeks out the gate, I was hired to an orthodontic place. And the doctor I worked with was amazing. She had like, it was a smaller practice, but she had two practices. Like the team she had, everybody was like close knit. They had like their own system. You could tell it was like a well-oiled machine. So maybe like she was well aware that like I was newly graduated, but she was willing to take a chance on me. However, like the only bad thing about the program I took is they really didn't discuss orthodontics. It's like they did, but it was like briefly like, oh, these are orthodontic instruments. Like they didn't really tell you much about it. So by me going into the office, I was kind of thrown in a deep end, like right away. And I wasn't necessarily drowning, but I felt like I was floundering like a lot. And even though I was getting proper training from the other staff, like a part of me still like, I would go into work every day, like second guessing myself, like, is this field right for me? And then like, as more time progressed, like the feeling kept getting worse and worse and worse to where it was like almost to the point of before I would go into work, I would feel like I was suffocating with so much doubt. Like I knew that it wasn't a good environment for me. So I regrettably quit and said I'd rather go back to general dentistry. And luckily when I discussed like how I was feeling with the doctor, we left on good terms. Like I left on good terms. Like the door was always open. I even still talk to like one or two of the other assistants that still work there. So there's no ill will towards like anybody at that company, thankfully. But then once I got into general dentistry, I feel like it just happened all over again. And the more I started feeling like this and I would talk to one of my good friends about it up here, she just immediately pointed out to me, she's like, you're suffering from imposter syndrome. And I knew I heard that term before because funny enough, like one of my instructors like pulled me aside like the day of graduation and told me, I need to have more confidence in myself. She says, you're more capable than you give yourself credit for, and that's going to hold you back. And just by hearing that from my instructor and then my good friend pointing out to me that I had imposter syndrome, it kind of like somehow just hearing that kind of clicked, but I had no idea what the term was. And once I looked it up, it kind of really all made sense to me. And I'll give you like the clear definition of it, just so you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So basically, imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomenon in which a person is unable to internalize their accomplishments. And despite external evidence of their competence, those with the syndrome are convinced that they do not deserve the success they've achieved. And often they dismiss their success as a fluke, dumb luck, or they simply deceived others into thinking they're more intelligent than they truly are. And it kind of made sense to me because even like the whole time, like especially when I was like in dental assisting school, I felt like even though I passed like all my even though I passed all my quizzes with high grades, I still felt like while I was studying, I was basically pulling stuff out of my ass, so to speak. And I don't know why I was feeling like that. It's like my brain was basically telling me like I wasn't worthy of, passing, so to speak. It's kind of weird. And it's funny enough, like people that do have this syndrome, they suffer from fears of like failure or crippling perfection. And actually, some of these people that have the syndrome are usually high achievers amongst their peer groups or within their chosen fields. And funny enough, this affects more women than men. Although I wasn't surprised when I actually heard that. It kind of made sense to me because, like, I feel we as women, and me especially, like, we kind of have added pressure, so to speak. But the more like I started to research this and more when I got a better understanding of it, I realized it's just kind of like a self-esteem issue, but there are ways to kind of fix it. I mean, there's no easy way to fix it, but luckily there are ways to kind of like fix this syndrome, so to speak. Basically, it boils down to one, we need to change our internal dialogue. Like, I know, especially me, like I said, like a part of my brain is always like kind of always second guessing any choices I make. And I know I've been like, especially lately, I've been trying to train my brain to turn off like negative beliefs, I guess, so to speak, especially like of not belonging. Also, like, especially when I worked in the orthodontic office, I felt like I didn't belong. I mean, naturally, you're going to feel like, out of place working in a new environment, especially since, one assistant's been with the doctor since the start. And then like other people, there was another person that's been there for a couple of years. And then, they all, like I said, it was like a well-oiled machine. Everybody, had their own system. And then I felt like I was kind of like a rock thrown in between like, the gears and stuff. And I was kind of like, a disruptance, and I should have had more confidence in myself. Like, sure, I'm new, but I'll get it eventually. And maybe I was, allowing myself to, I was kind of like belittling myself when I shouldn't have, like it was unnecessary. So it's just a matter of changing your internal dialogue. And I think by doing that, you kind of got to acknowledge like kind of ways that you kind of self-sabotage yourself. Like I know I'm guilty of it, and we kind of just need to embrace the fact that sure, we're not perfect, but we'll eventually get it. And then I know part of self-sabotage too is that even if you receive like the positive feedback, like there's also that part of your brain that's kind of like, it kind of feels foreign to you. So then you're kind of wondering if the person's being genuine, or you're so not used to hearing it, it's almost like a different language to you, so you can't understand why you're receiving the positive feedback. Like even now, like I could get like a simple compliment and I'll either second guess it or just wonder if the person's being legit, instead of taking the compliment as it is and just, reassurance that, hey, you're doing a good job. And that's like a terrible habit that I definitely need to break. So that's something that I guess anybody that suffers from this syndrome, that's something that you definitely need to work on. You should just take positive feedback for what it is, and also accept that it's okay to ask for help. I know, especially like some people have a hard time asking for help, and that could be a part of it, could be because they feel like, well, if I'm asking for help, I'm showing this person that I'm not as capable as I think I am. And that's not necessarily the case. Nobody's perfect at doing things, especially if the situation's new. Or you could be doing something a million times and then, you screw up once and you're like, oh crap, I actually need help on this. You just kind of got to swallow your pride and just realize that it's okay to ask for help. If you want it done right, sometimes you just got to take a step back and just accept the help. You're not a fraud. You're just showing that you're not perfect. And like I said, nobody's perfect. And I guess overall you just gotta just acknowledge like how you self-sabotage yourself and just realize that just find other ways not to do it. You just kind of, it's a matter of I guess trying to accept accept the fact that you just have to believe that, in a way that you are capable of more than you think you are. Like you have to have the, I guess it's kind of like, even if you feel like you don't feel that way, maybe you gotta fake it until it becomes like the only thing that you see. Like my husband has like, I'm kind of like I'm rambling here, but my husband has this weird saying of fake it till you make it. Like he says it to me a lot, especially when I'm like, if I'm second guessing an idea, or if I feel like I'm unsure about something. He's like, well, fake it till you make it. He's like, well, fake like you know what you're doing, and you know, eventually you'll get it, hopefully. He's like, you're capable or smart, you'll eventually get it, just fake it until it comes to you. And maybe that's what we kind of do in this, especially in this sense, like just fake the confidence until it becomes second nature to you. Like, I guess I'm trying to word it in a different way, especially like with success, we have to realize that it's not necessarily a destination, but success is like a journey, and confidence isn't just handed to you, it's not given, but it's about growth, and you have to cultivate it, and it's a matter of just, you know, just taking things one step at a time until you can feel like you can own it like effortlessly. And it's that, like I said, it's just a lesson I'm learning myself, and I know it's going to take time, but I'm learning to just embrace my flaws and just learning to just have more confidence in my abilities. Like, I know I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I'm not, you know, I have to give myself more credit than I, you know, tend to. Like, I have to give myself way more credit. And then people that suffer from the same syndrome, we just have to have we have to believe in ourselves that we're more capable than we realize. And that's pretty much it. Like, I hope I wasn't rambling too much, and hopefully to anybody that's listening to this got like a little bit of insight on that. And I'm pretty much gonna wrap this up at this point. Thanks for listening. To hopefully you were able to follow what I was talking about, and you know, hopefully I could talk about more topics like this, or maybe I'll talk about something a little more lighthearted, maybe something like a random tidbit, or like just like a funny story from my past or something. So anybody that has any suggestions, feel free to like hit me up on social media. You can follow me on Instagram, awkward blerd girl. I do have a Facebook now, the Awkward Black Nerd Podcast. You can send me an email at awkwardblacknerdpodcast@gmail.com. And I'm going to try to record episodes on a weekly basis. Hopefully I could try to record 2 episodes, like the next episode over the weekend. If not, I'm probably going to record like the beginning of the next week, but it probably won't be uploaded till, I'm going to try to upload every Thursday or Friday, but definitely going to try to make these like weekly episodes. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend, make good choices over the weekend, be kind to each other, be safe. And I know 2020 has been rough, but we're all in this together. And I guess the good news is it's almost over. Hopefully next year is not as bad as this year was. And talk to you guys soon. Bye.